Philadelphia 76ers select Markelle Fultz.
A moment for Markelle Fultz, who was on the junior varsity at DeMatha Catholic.
Yesterday afternoon, Fultz's agent, Raymond Brothers, went public. Fultz is dealing with a shoulder injury.
Client will see a shoulder specialist next week. What should the Sixers do? What's going on?
You know what? I forgot all about Markelle Fultz.
Well, that's what maybe they're hoping.
Markelle Fultz is on his way to your Orlando Magic.
What?
I hate to be the one to say this, but, you know, he's been a bust for them. He's not the player that they drafted.
Which brings us to the question. With everything that has already happened to Markelle Fultz in his basketball career, how could he possibly rebound and become the player he once was? Now, obviously, we are about to take a deep dive into the life and mind of Markelle Fultz. However, to start things off here, I do want to show you why I'm making this video in the first place. So with that said, let's take a look at a quote from Markelle's high school coach, Mike Jones, who has said, quote, "A lot of people find slights in everything. Some people are just built that way, and it seems Markelle is." Now, as we continue with this video, I just want you to keep that quote in mind, because throughout his entire life, Markelle was doubted and hated on, but he never let that affect him. If anything, the hate that he received gave Markelle a chip on his shoulder that made him work to be the best player he could possibly be. And speaking of his life, let's now take a step back and look into Markelle's childhood, because growing up, Markelle Fultz did not have anything close to an easy life. In fact, Markelle never met his father, so instead he would rely on his mother, Ebony, for guidance. And yes, it was his mother that instilled in Markelle a work ethic that would lead him to the top. But what was even more important was the emphasis Ebony placed on both schoolwork and giving back. In elementary school, Markelle could already be found in soup kitchens with his mother feeding the homeless. And as for schoolwork, well, we're jumping ahead a bit here, but Markelle's dedication to his classes can best be understood in his mother's decision to send him to the basketball powerhouse DeMatha Catholic. Because as his mom remembers, quote, "Markelle wasn't going to DeMatha for basketball. He wasn't recruited there. I was thinking about an education, being able to write an essay or do the work to get into college. I wanted him to be prepared." And prepared he would be, as Joan Phelan remembers that Markelle would meet his advisor at 6 a.m. on most school days, and that, quote, he'd get a math review packet and he wouldn't do it once or twice, he'd do it about 6 times. I'd get to the point where I'd say, "Markelle, you know it." And he'd just want to try it one more time so he would feel comfortable. Again, it is this type of dedication that is the reason I'm making this video, and it's also this type of upbringing and display of character that gives me reason to believe that Markelle can come back. Again, we will continue getting into that, but for now, let's take a step back here and look more into Markelle's childhood. Before we continue, guys, I am happy to say that this video is sponsored by SeatGeek. Now, SeatGeek is an app that takes all of the best ticket prices from around the internet and puts them all in one place for you to get the best deal. It's also so easy to see what the best deals are because SeatGeek scores every ticket from 0 to 100 based on how good that ticket's price is. Another cool thing about SeatGeek is that when you're choosing your ticket, you can actually see what the view would look like from the ticket you're about to buy. And to me, that's awesome because you get to see what experience you'd have from those seats. So if you want the best tickets for the best prices, download SeatGeek right now and use the promo code 2KMike for $20 off your first order. Because we haven't spoken a whole lot specifically about basketball right now, so let's go back in time to when Markelle was just 7 years old and Ebony would introduce him to a basketball trainer, Keith Williams, who would go on to change his life forever. Now, Williams is and was a big-time trainer. He's trained Kevin Durant, Gilbert Arenas, Michael Beasley, Ty Lawson, DeMarcus Cousins. I don't need to go on. Obviously, the man has worked with some big-time talent. And at the time, Markelle was not that type of big-time talent. The reason I say that is that as a kid, Fultz did not stand out like future #1 picks usually do. He was just an average player. Williams would actually refer to him as Bambi because Markelle was both lanky and uncoordinated at a young age. But Williams did go to high school with Markelle's mom, Ebony, and as Markelle remembers, Williams also, quote, "just saw something in me that a lot of people didn't. I was nowhere near as good, and and he invested in me. So I came to work out. This would become a constant in Markelle's life. And what also would become a constant would be his desire to prove everyone wrong. And that's exactly what he would do, but it would take some seriously hard work. Keith Williams would soon have Fultz shooting 700 shots per day and also made him swim or box for hours at a time in order to improve his balance on the court. And eventually, the chip that his coaches had put on his shoulder by cutting him and making him play JV led to drastic improvements in Fultz's game. And in what is now a famous story around Markelle's area, due to the fact that he was early to scout DeMatha's varsity game, former Washington assistant coach Raphael Chillis would watch Markelle play his JV game. And at halftime of that game, Chillis would leave the gym and call Washington head coach Lorenzo Romar and say, quote, "You're going to call me crazy, but I'm watching a JV kid right now, and if he grows, he's not an NBA player, he's an NBA all-star." 1 year later, Chillis would get a call from a friend, and that friend would simply tell him, "Do you remember that 5'9" kid you loved? Well, he's 6'3" now." Of course, this would lead to Markelle playing for Washington, and as for his high school career, looking back, DeMatha head coach Mike Jones has said, "In hindsight, I'd say I was wrong in regards to placing the eventual #1 pick on his JV team. But to me, the mistake that Markelle's coach made doesn't really matter. What does matter is that when he was knocked down, when he was forced to play JV as a sophomore, even though he thought he was way better than that, Markelle decided to prove everyone wrong and became so good that a college scout watched his JV game and actually said that he had NBA all-star potential. That is ridiculous and really tells us all we need to know. Leading up to the NBA, every time Markelle Fultz was knocked down, he was more than ready to get back up. That's the kind of player he is, and as for his character, well, again, I have to say, Markelle Fultz is the type of guy you root for. When his mom went to visit him in college, she heard story after story about Markelle's good deeds on campus. This is a man who went missing when DeMatha honored him for his achievements and was finally found in a gym playing basketball with local young fans. This is a man who still mows his mom's lawn and does every chore imaginable when he's home. This is a man who once had the confidence to say before he was drafted, quote, "I actually want to be the best to ever play this game. And I think I have a pretty good chance to do that." Those are some big words, but that's the type of confidence Markelle Fultz once had. And speaking of that draft, I'll finish this video off with the words of former DeMatha assistant coach Corey McCray, who, again before the draft, had this to say of Markelle, quote, "He wasn't hyped up as some prodigy or put on some pedestal, and I think that's why he's going to be a star in the NBA, because he knows what it's like to be at the bottom. He knows what it's like when everyone around you is getting praised and you're just the next guy, and he doesn't want to go back there." So there we have it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to this channel, it would be awesome if you subscribed. I have so many videos coming up. So many of them are like 3/4 done. Trust me, there is going to be a lot of quality content being posted very soon. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. As always, have an awesome day and cue that music. By the way, if you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are going to love watching. All you have to do is just click on either one of them on the screen right here. And other than that, guys, again, have a great day and peace.